Gleyber Torres has made himself a key player for the New York Yankees. However, this past offseason, there are some rumors of whether he'd even be on the 2023 team. There are a lot of rumors whether he'd be traded, whether he'd stick with the Yankees, especially with the loaded crop of young infielders coming through like Anthony Volpe, Oswald Peraza. A lot of question marks there. So with that, what does Gleyber Torres have to do in 2023 to prove that he belongs in a Yankees uniform past 2023? And how has his performance changed since those early successes of 2018 and 2019? We're going to cover it right here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derek. I am here with John, and let's dive straight into this Gleyber Torres player profile. So first, with Gleyber, obviously, two-time All-Star. Those two All-Star appearances were in his rookie year and his second season. So that is of note. He had 24 home runs his rookie year and 431 at-bats, and then he had 38 in 2019. However, he dropped off a little bit the last 2 years. 2021 and 459 at-bats, he had 9 homers. And in 2022, he did jump back up to 24, but it was in 526 at-bats, but it wasn't the same as the 38, whether we want to call that with juice balls or not. We still don't really know. However, he has gotten off to a very strong start this year. So I'll hand it over to John first. Where does Gleyber Torres kind of lie in this whole Yankees picture this year, next year? Just an overall overview of where he finds himself in this Yankees middle infield picture.
Well, Derek, I was on the if a good deal comes along, trade Gleyber Torres bandwagon all offseason. I mean, I've made that very clear on, our YouTubes on the podcast. I probably wrote about it on the website. I'm was totally open to trading Gleyber Torres, and now this hot start that he's jumped off to, it makes you kind of want to pause that a little bit, and I think he's certainly earning a spot to stay on the team. And for that, I mean, he can still be around this year, next year. I think he has. Said he has one more year of arbitration left before he's a free agent, if I'm correct. So, if he keeps hitting like this, he's got a really good chance of staying on the team. Though I don't know if we'll maybe touch on this more. I wouldn't be 100% opposed to trading Gleyber Torres if the right deal came along. So, to quote our good friend Barnes, don't hear what I'm not saying. I know Luke's going to jump me and say I just said trade Gleyber Torres. I'm open to trading him in the right deal if it comes along, because you do have so much infield depth and so much young infield depth. Though that being said, the way Gleyber's sitting right now, you can still hang on to him. I don't really know what to expect. He's been so up and down. It's hard to really predict what we're going to get out of Gleyber. He's going to prove it day by day kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely had a very good start to the season, obviously. He's hitting 387 so far with a 537 on base and a 710 slugging. Obviously, that's not sustainable over the course of the season. But if you're a Yankees fan, it's nice to see him get off to a good start. He's at 2 doubles, a triple, and 2 homers. He's got 10 walks compared to 3 strikeouts. That's a big thing for Gleyber Torres, because you look at his career numbers. I'll go through the numbers. Every full season. So besides 2020, 2018, 42 walks, 122 strikeouts. 2019, he had 48 walks, 129 strikeouts. 2021, 50 walks, 104 strikeouts. And last season, 39 walks to 129 strikeouts. So he's striking out almost 3 times per walk, approximately. Don't fact check my math. That might be a little bit off. But it's about 3 strikeouts per walk. However, this year he's got 3 walks per every strikeout. So far he's been doing a lot better job at that kind of strikeout to walk ratio, and it's big for him. Gets on base more, right? The more he's going to walk, the more he's going to get on base, and it's a big thing that I bring up a lot of the time with guys. Even if you go 0 for 15, if you go 0 for 15 with 5 walks, or you go 0 for 15 with 0 walks, that makes a big difference. And for Gleyber Torres, if he can walk, it'll be big for him. And that's why this early season production, I think, has been important for him to get off on the right foot, because there are guys behind him who have a bright future. So what are your thoughts, Sean, on this kind of this nice quick start for Gleyber Torres?
It's been fantastic, and it gives you flashbacks of what Gleyber Torres could be. Like he had so much potential coming through the minors. Um, then his first 2 year, 2018, he was a Rookie of the Year candidate, finished third in the voting. 2019, he just had a tremendous season. Again, we all know the balls were flying out of the park that season, but still, like it was one way or another, that's still a really good season. Um, the regressions happened, and now so, like I said, it's just one of those things where I wasn't confident in Gleyber going into the season. And this hot start, it gives me confidence in him. But I think more importantly, it's clearly giving him confidence in himself because he's playing so well. He is locked in at the plate, and he just looks so different than what we've seen in the past couple of years, where he clearly wasn't himself. So this hot start, it's great for the Yankees. It's great for Gleyber, and it's great for me.
Yeah, and he's been making improvements so far. I mean, obviously, it's a very small sample size so far in 2023. So take this for somewhat take this for granted. Um, but his whiff rate is at his 76 percentile so far in 2023. Last year's 34th percentile, so a lot less swing and miss from Gleyber Torres this year. That's massive. His walk rate, and super small sample size, don't get me wrong, 32nd percentile in walk rate last year. This year, he's 98th percentile. So he's walking a lot. He's walking just as much as anyone in the league for the most part this year. Didn't walk a whole lot last year. Last year's strikeout percentage, 41st percentile. This year, 96th percentile. So he's not striking out a lot, right? And that's a big thing. His barrel rate, 79th percentile. Last year's 75th, so that's about the same. But his expected batting average went from 44th percentile to 89th percentile. So he's hitting the ball hard so far this year. And he's getting a lot of hits. Now, overall, his average and max exit velocity so far this year is down a little bit. And his hard hit rate's a little bit down this year. But in a very small sample size, remember that. But it does show the fact that he is walking. He's not striking out at much. And normally when you do walk, when you do swing and you do hit the ball, you're going to be hitting better pitches normally because you're laying off a lot of pitches that you might have swung at before that aren't pitches to hit. And that's what brings me to kind of this offseason talk, because there was a lot of talk of him being traded. And based off 2022 Gleyber Torres, who might hit, 250, and it'll give you 250. He might give you 25 homers, right? 25, 30 doubles. But if you could get a good pitcher for that, I think the Yankees were willing to do that. If you can get some sort of form of your, let's say 2018, 2019 Gleyber Torres, or maybe a little bit better than that, I don't know if the Yankees are so quick to think about trading him if he can have that kind of year.
Exactly. Like I said, I'm not 100% opposed to it, but I also think it's something you should actively be doing. Like you're not actively shopping Gleyber Torres. However, if the right deal came along for a certain pitcher, I don't know who's available. I don't know who would make the most sense. I don't think the Mariners are trading Luis Castillo, so that would have been my first pick on that. But I don't. If there's someone out there where it makes sense and it's one of those blockbuster deals, like I mean, occasionally you do see blockbuster deals. I remember growing up, like this was always the one that jumps to my mind first. Though obviously there's been many since then. But Tony waking up one morning and finding out Tony Fernandez and Fred McGriff got traded for Joe Carter and Roberto Alomar was mind blowing to me. And I'm sure neither fan base expected those trades to happen. And they're probably maybe you weren't happy about it at the time. But it ends up working out. And it's blockbuster trades like that. It's like that's the only way I see Gleyber Torres getting traded is in just a massive deal where you're getting a win now player in return. But like I said, like we're talking about, I mean, Gleyber's right now, he looks like that win now player. Like he looks like a guy that can really carry the Yankees. And I've always loved his approach. I believe it was in the All Roads Lead to October book. I don't remember if it was Jack Curry or Bob Klappich, whoever wrote that one. But they talked about Gleyber's approach to hitting, even as a young kid, because we forget how young he is. Like he's been around for so long. It's like 26 years old, and he's been around since he's 21. And there's a story of him working with a hitting instructor in the minor leagues. This kid's like 19, 20 years old, watching like tape of Dallas Keuchel pitching and telling the hitting instructor, like, Gleyber Torres has never played a game in the major leagues, and saying my approach to Dallas Keuchel would be to just take what he gives you and drive the ball to right field. So he's not going to throw anything over the plate, Dallas Keuchel. So I'm just going to sit back and wait for that one strike, and I'm going to sit on it. I'm not going to try to pull it. I'm not going to try to do much. I'm just going to have that late swing, bat the ball, drive it to right field. And the fact that this kid is 18, 19, 20 years old, that's his approach, thinking when I get to the major leagues, I'm going to do that to Dallas Keuchel. And ironically enough, he did. He actually hit an opposite way double early in his career against Dallas Keuchel. And you think of someone like that with such wisdom to the game that he really can be valuable to the Yankees if he is finally going to live up to and stay at his potential. So if the Yankees think there's any chance that this can happen, they're watching him behind the scenes, then you don't trade him. However, if you think this is not really sustainable and this is maybe a bit of an illusion, trade him while the value is high. I'm not watching him behind the scenes. I'm only seeing what I see on the field. What I see on the field looks really good right now. But if the Yankees think this is not sustainable, then now's the time to trade him because his value is never going to be any higher.
Yeah, and I do think the other thing that has to be brought up is Gleyber Torres actually playing second base where he needs to be, right? It's not that he necessarily can't play shortstop, but he's going to struggle defensively there at the major league level. He's not a good major league shortstop, right? And now that doesn't mean he's a bad shortstop overall, but the level of being a major league shortstop is so high. Gleyber Torres isn't there, but he can be a solid second baseman defensively. He can be a very solid second baseman defensively. And he did play well defensively last year. And if you're a Yankees fan, it was nice because, and to me, what I never got from a non-Yankees fan is he had a rough defensive season in 2019 at second base, and that was the year they started playing him a lot more at shortstop, and then they kind of ended up going, oh yeah, well, we're going to move him to short, although he was already struggling at second defensively at times. Like, that was the one thing that I looked at. I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense. Just keep him at second base. Let him grow as a second baseman and get better defensively there. They put him back there last year, and he was a lot better defensively at second base. And I think that's where he needs to be. Don't force him to be the shortstop. Now they don't need to. Obviously, they have Anthony Volpe there, which is huge, I think, just for allowing Gleyber Torres to stick at second base. And I don't see this, and I'm not even saying this as a knock on Gleyber Torres. I actually think it's a plus because I think he brings more value defensively at second base than he does at shortstop, although shortstop is seen as a more valuable defensive position. Because I think he's good enough defensively at second base, and he has had his struggles at shortstop. So I think having him at second base is actually more valuable to the Yankees. And I do, you do have to kind of think when a trade gets discussed for Gleyber Torres, it's like, okay, well, what about clubhouse dynamics? We don't really fully know those dynamics and how it could affect the clubhouse. So maybe they don't trade him. But he is a free agent after the 2024 season. So it's going to come to a point for the Yankees where they're going to have to decide whether they want him there long term or not, and that's a question they're going to have to figure out soon because you do have Peraza coming up and he's already in AAA, right? He made his big league debut last year, so the Yankees are going to have to figure out what is the plan for Gleyber Torres long term, and how does that plan affect an Oswald Peraza or an Anthony Volpe? Maybe one of those guys moves to third, or maybe you trade a Peraza, right? Who knows? I think Anthony Volpe and how the Yankees decide on him could potentially change the plans for a Volpe or a Peraza, if not both. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. One question I got for you, since we are talking about this, who is there anybody out there, whether it be, is there any team out there, whether it be pitching or just a dynamic field, some infield or outfielder that you could potentially see on the block for a Gleyber Torres trade, or do you just think it's not out there right now?
I mean, not right now. We're in April, right? We're like 2 weeks into the season, so not now. I mean, I know people have been saying Corbin Burns could be available in Yankees, but you're not getting Corbin Burns for Gleyber Torres. You're just like, that's nowhere close, right? So you're probably looking at like a mid-rotation arm if you're trading Gleyber Torres. And I don't say mid-rotation arm as a guy like, oh, like he's not going to be good. A mid-rotation arm can be very good. It's just they're not, you're not going to trade for Corbin Burns or even a Brandon Woodruff for that of that matter. You're not going to trade Gleyber Torres for one of those guys. but you might be able to you still might be able to get a very solid rotation piece. Someone that's somewhat comparable talent wise. Maybe it's like a Jameson Tyone, who you know very well. I know we both like Jameson Tyone. And a guy who can be a solid rotation piece, whether depending on the rotation, you could be as high as a 2, or you can even be a very, very elite 5 in a rotation, depending on who else is in a rotation, right? But I do truly think whatever happens with Gleyber Torres will decide the fate of the Yankees, because I think at some point they're going to have to trade one of Volpe, Peraza, and Gleyber Torres, and I don't think they're trading Volpe anytime soon. I don't see it happening at all. So now you're kind of leaving Torres and Peraza. One of them, you have one middle infield spot for the both of them, unless you're moving either Volpe or Peraza to third. You only got 2 spots for 3 guys. So it kind of, you create that logjam. You don't really know what to do. Well, it's not that you don't know really what to do. You don't really have you don't, I don't know, how do I want to word this? You don't really have, you can't put 3 players in the middle infield. You just can't, right? You can't have 3 middle infielders. That's not possible. So I think that's kind of the point I'm getting at. You can't play 3. You can't have a second baseman, a shortstop, and then an in-between second baseman and shortstop, essentially, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think Peraza's days are probably numbered right now. I think he's going to be the odd man out. One last point I want to make about Gleyber Torres is that I know he has the 5 stolen bases, and everybody's really, really excited about that. And yeah, it's exciting, but Gleyber Torres has a bit of a history of some hip issues. He's very valuable to this team. I think let's slow down on stealing bases. I don't want to see Gleyber Torres stealing 40 bases for the Yankees this season. I don't think that's in his best interest health wise. He's very important. There's other guys on this team that can be stealing bases. So I know there have been jokes about, can Aaron Judge do a 60-60 season? God, no, I hope not. Maybe a 60-6 season is cool for Aaron Judge. And again, Gleyber Torres is sitting here at 5 stolen bases. I hope he doesn't finish the season over like 15, because it's not worth the risk right now to have Gleyber Torres, Aaron Judge, or Giancarlo Stanton stealing bases. Let everybody else do that.
Yeah, and I like there's nothing wrong occasionally running. You just don't want to, you don't want to have him risk injury by running too often. I think that's the point you're trying to get across. It's not that he can't run, just only run when you need to. Don't run just to run, right? I think that's the point you're getting across.
Right. Yeah. Let's keep it to close game situations. I don't want to see Gleyber Torres getting hurt stealing bases, and that's just my one concern watching him doing this right now.
Yeah, and that's fair. Last thing, wrap up on Gleyber Torres. Any final thoughts on him?
It was just to slow down on stealing bases, bro.
All right. That's a good place to wrap up our Gleyber Torres player profile. So let us know your thoughts in the comments, Yankees fans. How do you feel about Gleyber Torres' hot start to the season? Let us know. How do you feel about his future with the Yankees? Let us know as well. Make sure to check out all our Bleacher Brawls links in the description. The Bleacher Brawls website, podcast, Instagram, and Twitter, plus all the crew's Twitters. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post. For John, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to Bleacher Brawls, and we'll see you next time.